Hi everyone, Velvet here, and I have some stories for you today. But before we get started, can you please do me a huge favor and like, comment, and subscribe? It'll really help the channel out, and it'll get you more videos like this every day. Let's get started. Our first one comes from FancyBad2392. Am I the beehole for refusing to take money from my son to spend on my stepdaughter's medical care? I, a 40-year-old male, have a son, a 15-year-old male, with my late wife, Cassie. Cassie died when our son was 5. She was left a large sum of money before her death because her death would have been preventable, but our medical team was negligent. She used the money to clear any medical debts, pay for her funeral, and the rest went into savings account for our son. I have saved since, but not as significantly as the money already there from Cassie. I remarried when my son was 11. My current wife, I'm probably going to say this wrong, and I has a daughter who is now an 11-year-old female. Before we ever got married, we had discussed finances, the kids, and how our blended family would work. We spoke about savings for our kids. My stepdaughter had hardly had any because her father cleared it out during his and Andy's marriage and refused to contribute to it again. So she started a new one. Andy was aware my son had a lot of money in his, but she does not have access to his, and I do not have access to my stepdaughters. We felt it was better keeping the savings individually for our bio kid, and we agreed not to interfere, but everything else is together, so paying for medical stuff, household stuff, extracurricular stuff, etc., etc. Everything with that was fine until September. The brief description is my stepdaughter was born with some medical problems. These problems required daily meds and surgery on occasion. In September, my stepdaughter had a surgery that went badly and created more problems, and I found a stepdaughter, a new doctor. This new doctor discovered a further complication, which required a new and costly medication in the short term and a big surgery to correct. This surgery cost a lot, but we'd pay it off eventually. This is when Andai suggested asking my son if we could pay the cost directly from his savings. I told her no. She told me if I explained that it needs to happen and he'll still have plenty, that it won't be an issue. I told her it would be and that money is for my son, not for us, not for anyone but him. And I went and asked my son anyway without letting me know. He told her no, and she raged at me, which is how I found out. I told her she crossed the line. She told me it's easy for me to say when my son isn't the one living with medical problems. I told her that did not give her the right to ask my son, who is still a child, for money. Things got heated, that my son and I moved out because Andai and I did nothing but fight. Then she went on to say some crazy things, like my son hates her daughter and wants her to be Minecraft. Andai's parents have interjected now and called me out for refusing to alleviate the stress of medical bills for Andai and my stepdaughter by taking money I did have access to. They need to stay out of this, man. And I also said I showed a little care for my stepdaughter. I told her we were still going to pay it, so I don't know what she's talking about. But she and her parents called me a butt. I am still furious she went to my son and asked for money after I said no. Am I the beehole, though? Hi, OP. I'm gonna say you're not the beehole. Your wife is definitely the beehole, and it sucks to say that she's your wife, because I would say wrap things up if she's acting that way. Like you said, is to kind of get paid off. Why would you mess up your son's future by, taking away money from him like that? And it sounds like she has no plans to pay that money back because she said, "Oh, he'll still have plenty left." I love how she throws that in your face too, like, "Oh, you don't care about your stepdaughter." She obviously doesn't care about her stepson, and like you said, that's not her money. That's your son's money left to him from his mother, his deceased mother. You know what I mean? OP, by the way she's acting, I don't know if I hope you're not in America because divorce is rough out here. But if you can, think about it because she obviously doesn't care about you and your son. And she obviously has no problem wasting money because, like you said, you were going to pay it off. Why would a person in their right mind jeopardize the future of another child when the problem's going to get solved eventually? It doesn't sound like you guys are millionaires, but it sounds like you can make the payments and just get it done. That's how debt works. She sounds like a spoiled brat. And yeah, I don't if it's that bad where you guys had to leave, think about it, OP. Oh, and I like her parents come up and try to like lecture you and tell you off. Again, what adult in their right mind would ruin a child's future like that? And of course they're going to be biased. So don't let them get to you. Ignore those idiots. I hate it when people who have no skin in the game, interject, and of course they're going to be biased towards their daughter. Who knows what lies she's feeding them? OP, not the beehole. And our next one comes from Zesty Close Storm 6364. Am I the beehole for moving out of my dad's house and telling him I won't let him see me graduate? When I, an 18-year-old female, was 5, my mom died. My mom always wore this necklace that she got as a teenager. It was unique and special, that it meant so much to her, and she gave it to me to wear before she died. She told me that if I ever wanted something physical to think of her by, I could have that. And she knew it would work because she always wore it, and I treasured that necklace. When I was 7, my dad got remarried, and he and his wife had a daughter, and within a few months, my half-sister was born. I was 8. One day, when she was 6, she asked me if she could wear the necklace, and I said no. She got upset. My dad and his wife were upset with me for being unwilling to share it, so my dad forced me to take it off and to give it to my half-sister. He said from that day on, it was hers because she deserved it, and I had acted immaturely and cruelly by refusing to let her even touch the necklace. My dad and I got into a big fight about it, and his wife inserted herself into the whole thing by saying that I love the necklace more than I love my half-sister. It was less than a week later when everything shut down, and for months after, things were tense and I was angry. Like beyond angry, because my half-sister kept the necklace, and I was seething. She refused to give it back to me, and Dad would yell when I would try demanding it back, when asking failed. 2 years ago, she broke the necklace. It was an accident, but I was there when it happened, and she was being careless with it, and her parents were watching. I lost my shite, and yelled and cursed, and told my dad I would never forgive any of them, and I never would. Ever let it go. It took a month of me feeling that way for him to regret it, and to realize that my half-sister cared more that I was mad at her than she was about the necklace, because a part of him actually believed the necklace meant something to her too. I refused to accept his apology. His wife called me bitter and said I was shameful for loving a necklace more than my own sister. I told her I never loved my half-sister, and she and her husband could thank themselves for making things even worse. I turned 18 in November, and I moved in with my granddad. We talked about it for ages before he picked me up, and I left. My dad was trying to stop me leaving, and both my half-siblings, I have a half-brother as well, were upset I was leaving and wanted me to stay. But I left, and I intended to never return. My dad has not let up when I blocked him, after even refusing to stop calling. He showed up outside my school last week and told me we needed to talk. He wanted me to move back in. The graduation was this year, and he needed info. I told him he's not coming, so he doesn't need to know anything. He told me of course he was coming. They all are. I looked him in the eyes, and I told him if they showed up, I won't attend the ceremony, and I will never give him the satisfaction of watching me graduate. He told me I took it too far, and I should find a way to forgive. Am I the beehole? That's rich. You took it too far, and you should find a way to forgive. Don't you love that, since he's the one who needs to be forgiven, that you should just find the way to forgive him for being a colossal prick, and that you took it too far? He went too far when he took your mother's keepsake from your deceased mother and gave it to someone who has no ties to her. And I love how in his stupid mind he thinks, oh well, she must treasure the necklace too. Why would she treasure the necklace like the person who knew the person who gave him the necklace? She doesn't know OP's mother at all. The brat was being a brat, and she, liked seeing her sister in pain and seeing her sister seethe. And these two idiots, the bio dad and the friggin' stepmother, were just fine with it. Hell, I bet you the stepmother loved it, causing pain. She sounds like a terrible person. Oh, you're being this and that and that and that. Really? And I like how they're surprised why you don't like them or your half brother, half sister, because, I assume they treat them better than you. If your father was willing to take your, deceased mother's keepsake and just give it to someone, Well, I'm glad you did the smart thing and you were able to get out of there when you turned 18. Pretty creepy that he's showing up at your school like that. I would let people know so he can be trespassed or get law enforcement involved, because he's, kind of getting creepy with it now. And I don't know what's going on in his mind where he thinks he can just show up to the graduation of someone he really hurt and did a lot of damage to. I don't know how good graduations are at keeping people out. I know they were terrible when I was graduating. They gave you these little bracelet things. You know, the ones for concerts where they snap on and you got to cut them off because when they lock in, they're pretty tough to take apart. I just accidentally closed it, not around my hand, and passed it through the gate to get people through. But I assume the schools have gotten smarter, so hopefully they'll be able to keep him out of the graduation. I don't know if there's anyone you can go to in the school and tell him, hey, here's a picture. Make sure he doesn't enter. He's not my guest. He's not allowed to come. You know what I mean? I took a quick look in the comments and we got a little bit of good news. OP does have the necklace. It was damaged too much where you couldn't get it fully 100% repaired, but they have the necklace. So I was reading in the comments, people are suggesting to get it incorporated into another piece of jewelry. Yeah, a ring, something like that. I don't know how bad it is. If I'm assuming there's a stone somewhere, so you could at least save that and put it into a new shell or something like that. So at least the story ends with a little bit of good news. OP, you're not the beehole. Your father and your stepmother, and yeah, your siblings. I get it. Your stepsister was a kid at the time, but has she even apologized for the way she was? I don't know. OP, not the beehole. And our final one comes from Round Lawyer 251. Am I the beehole for telling my brother he can't have it both ways? I, female, age 33, am a stay-at-home mom with my 3-year-old son, while my husband works full-time. This story involves my brother, male, 31. He is also a parent and lives with his wife and 2 kids, female 7 and male 3. My brother and his wife both work during the day, and their youngest goes to daycare 3 days a week. The rest of the week, they usually rely on my mom for childcare. However, she has recently started refusing and saying they need to find other arrangements. This caused a pretty big rift in their relationship, to the point where my brother wasn't speaking to our mom, and my sister-in-law refused to spend Christmas with her. They're on better terms now, but it was quite tense. My brother asked if I can care for my nephew for 2 days a week. I agreed. It was a bit of extra work for me, but he has a good kid, and my son looks forward to seeing his cousin. We had this arrangement going since right after the holidays. Last week, I asked my brother if he and his wife could take care of my son on Saturday, as my husband and I were attending a child-free wedding. Originally, my mother-in-law had volunteered to babysit, but unfortunately she had to cancel as she was sick. My brother agreed. The next day, he sent me a long text message saying that he and his wife agreed that I put them on the spot and made them feel like they had to babysit, and they aren't obligated to watch my son just because we're family, and that they might have other things to do. I was quite annoyed at this, especially since I've been watching their child without complaining. I admit that was a last-minute request, but my brother is being crazy unreasonable. I had texted him back and said he can't have it both ways, expecting me to help him out with childcare because we're family, but I can't expect the same from him, and that if this is the way he wants it, I am not watching his son anymore. My brother says I'm being childish, and that he didn't say he wouldn't watch my son, just that I shouldn't expect him to always say yes, since he and his wife are very, very busy. And it's not like us attending the wedding was urgent. He's now not speaking to me. My mom told me just to not play his game, but I need someone with outside opinions here. Am I the beehole? OP, you are not the beehole, and now I can understand why your mom finally cut him off. It sounds like he's ungrateful, entitled, and spoiled. He's over here giving you this lecture. You put us on the spot. Okay, who cares? It's a wedding, and it's not like you had no plans. You were gonna let your mother watch him, but she got sick. Which, thank her for letting you know and not getting your child sick. That's a good grandma. And yeah, that would piss me off too. You're over here doing him this huge favor, watching his child 2 days a week, and he can't have your back this one time. And like you said, yeah, he can't have it both ways using, oh, family, oh, take care of my kid. But when you're in a pinch for one time, not multiple days a week, one time for a wedding, not even the whole day. I assume it's going to be a couple hours at the wedding, the wedding, and then you go eat and play around a little bit. So I don't know, you come back at like 6, whatever. They couldn't do that. And he's over here, it's like, oh, me and my... OP, I'm with your mom. Do not play his game anymore. Do not watch his child. That sucks that your son won't get to play with his cousin, but he needs to learn that he can't take advantage of people and just do nothing. What a prick. OP, not the beehole, and... Ugh. Thank you so much for staying with me to the end of this video. Can you please do what I said in the beginning and like, comment, and subscribe? It will really help the channel out, and it'll get you more videos like this every day. Velvet out.